Welcome to Tales from Tech Support, where OP gets a gun pointed to his head. Don't scam a bot developer. I develop bots for people on a Discord server. That's a chat program for people who don't know. One day, I checked for hiring in a developer in a server and saw a job making a simple bot for a cafe group. I messaged the owner and got the job. I coded the bot the next day and waited for a response from the owner. It turns out the owner was taking a break from Discord, so about a week later when she was finally back, she DM'd me and I fixed the final bug and showed the bot. Right away, they said,
"Thanks for the bot. Have a great day."
They then took my admin role from the server and blocked me. However, it didn't occur to her that I might be able to give myself admin access with the bot. I immediately set the permissions so that everyone who joins their server has admin rights. I'm also an admin in a bigger Discord server with about 300 members. I mentioned that everyone should join their server, and of course, they noticed they also have admins. Within about 10 minutes, their server is completely destroyed. I haven't seen the reaction since I left the server, but I bet they will never scam anyone else again. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I was never paid for this either. This is just another example of why you never want to screw over your developer. Because in this case, he just created the backdoor through the bot and was able to get into the other person's server and basically unleash hell on that server and destroy it. And so that business owner probably lost more in business transactions from not being able to promote their business on this Discord server than it would have cost them easily to pay the 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it was, for this little bot to be finished. In our next post, OP starts his first day at a tech store with a gun to his head. I want to start this next post by saying that the OP lives in Mexico, so take that into consideration. I had just finished my training and got a certificate that allowed me to work in a computer store and repair computers, and I arrived early that day. Everything was normal until 1 p.m. when a guy comes in and wants his hard drive wiped and cleaned with a brand new version of Windows 7. Didn't ask any questions. I just took it to the back and started working on it. I gave the case a nice cleaning and removed the dust, booted it up, and then crap hit the fan. I hear glass break from the front. People are yelling. My boss and somebody else are told to get down, as well as lots of insults to our client. Before I could react, someone comes to where I was, points an AK rifle at me, and I jump to the floor, scared, holding my hands on the back of my neck, avoiding any eye contact. They asked me,
"What did you do to that computer?"
I said, "Nothing. I didn't touch it. I was just cleaning it."
Lies.
"Check it yourself. Everything's intact." I could feel the barrel pointed against me. I heard someone else come in and take the PC away. It felt like hours until they decided to retreat back and run away. Once I recovered from the shock, I stand up and head to the front door. My boss was on the phone, crying hysterically. I didn't even hear the police sirens when I noticed the client was missing. I was not allowed to see the security footage, but the client was taken away. He was identified as a cartel member, and his body was discovered hours later. If it wasn't for the money, I would have quit right then and there. Thankfully, me avoiding eye contact saved my life. In this next post, the user continuously writes down their MFA code. Recently, I got a call from a user who needed MFA set up on their email. After setting up their authenticator app, I had to explain how to use it to them. This is how it went. So this is the code on your phone. It will refresh every 30 seconds. And you just enter what it asks you for when you're signing into your email, okay? He responded with, "Got it. Let me just write this down." Well, you shouldn't need to write it down. The code will just be there on your phone and you can enter it when you need it. Okay, gotcha. It looks like there's a new code. Let me write this one down too. Yeah, the code's going to refresh every 30 seconds. You just enter it when it's showing you when you try to sign in. Well, hold on there's another one. Let me write this one down too real quick. Yeah, it's going to change every time you use it. You won't be able to write down the correct code. Well, how am I supposed to remember my code if it changes every time? You people never think these things through. After a while, he eventually figured it out. I don't know how many of you were around when the Blaster and Sasser virus came out, but I was doing support back then and trying to help customers fix that issue. And I remember one instance trying to explain where the start menu was on a Windows computer. Click in the bottom left-hand corner. There's a big thing that says start. Click on that. And I think in one case, it took me about 20 minutes to get this. And the big problem was that the computer would reboot every 30 seconds. I mean, that's what the virus did. It took advantage of a vulnerability in a Microsoft update and rebooted every 30 seconds. And it was frustrating because just when they would find it, it would reboot. Then you'd have to let it come back up and spend 2 or 3 minutes there. And then, they would fumble to get to the start menu. And then you're like, type in run. And then they can't find run. And then you're like, all right, then it reboots. Then you're like, get to a command prompt. And it reboots again. And then you're trying to explain to them, type in shutdown space -A, and they're actually typing in SPACE for space, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like, please, I didn't get a degree for this. Please let me get a better paying job at some point in the future. In our next post, OP gets fired and the business comes to a complete halt. Don't fire me so you can hire your nephew. This happened to me several years ago. I was working for a small medical supply company as the IT manager. Business was bad, and eventually the IT department had to downsize to just me. During this time, they brought in a new CFO that I had to report directly to. Let's call her Pam. Pam had zero knowledge of IT and how things worked. Her motto was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The PC server life cycles didn't exist. We don't have to pay for licensing to keep our firewall updated. It's just working fine now. I went from having an annual budget to a wish list, which she would just deny everything I asked for. The couple that owned the company were real pieces of garbage too. One time, we had a quarterly meeting and people were asking how secure their jobs were. The owner said that no one was getting laid off and the jobs were all secure. This was 5 p.m. on Wednesday. The very next morning at 9 a.m., they laid off 6 people. At noon, one of the owners showed up to the office in an Escalade that he had just purchased that morning. During the first 6 months that Pam was there, she started firing everyone that worked for the old CFO and replaced them with her friends and family. 3 of her bridesmaids from her wedding a few years prior also got hired to replace those that she fired. I knew I was on borrowed time. After she'd been there for 9 months, I was the only one left out of what it was a dozen people that worked for the old CFO. I knew my time was running out. I had been looking for work, but the 2009 crash just happened, and the job market in my area went south quickly. Sure enough, she called me in the HR and blindsided me with an entirely trumped-up charge that she claimed happened the day before. I was working with the VP of sales on a project the entire day, so I had witnesses. I asked to bring him in since my boss was lying and told, this is not about him, it's about you. Remember, kids, HR is the product of a business, not to do what is right and legal in some cases. Needless to say, I knew my days were numbered. The next morning, I get introduced to an IT expert who just happens to be Pam's 21-year-old nephew. He was to shadow me and evaluate everything that I did and see so we could streamline any processes. In other words, they wanted me to train him to do my job. I quickly learned that this kid had absolutely no knowledge of IT. He's the kid people think is an IT expert because he can hook up a PlayStation to a TV. He didn't even know how to join a PC to a domain. So I knew what had to be done. The inventory, billing, and shipping and receiving were all run by scripts that I created on the server. They were all run by using the domain admin account. I raised quite a fuss about giving him domain admin account in front of Pam and him. I loudly proclaimed that I was going to change the password to it since you can't have people who don't work for the company to have admin access to our network. I was overruled and was told to give it to him. I complied, but I also showed him multiple times how to change the password on the domain. I even had him write it down to make sure that he could do it. I really stressed the importance of changing the admin password and deleting his local account the second he's no longer consulting with us. I showed him a few things, but nothing really into what really made the company run that day. There wasn't enough time in a year to bring this kid up to speed on how to run the place due to his complete ignorance of IT. I came into work the next day, and sure enough, I was let go because the nephew had found
My skills lacking in many areas.
I collected my paycheck and headed home. The next morning, I got a call from the CFO and owners. Apparently, her nephew wasn't quite up to speed on everything that we did, and she was graciously offering to pay me regular salary to come in and consult and get her nephew up to speed on the IT infrastructure. I told her now I'm an independent contractor, and if she wanted my services, I was going to charge her $200 an hour with a 250-hour minimum. At that point, she told me she was going to call the police and have me arrested for what I did if I didn't come in and fix everything. My response was, just so we're clear, you fired me. You replaced me with a completely unqualified idiot, and now you're threatening to call the cops on me if I don't come in and fix what he did? I'll hold. Please call the police and let me know what they say. She started cursing at me and hung up the phone. It turns out her nephew did actually learn something from me. He changed the admin password after I had left, the one that ran the scripts for all the inventory, billing, shipping, and ordering. According to some of my old coworkers, the place was dead in the water for several days until they could get a real consultant in and go through the documentation that I had created and fix the issue. The nephew was immediately fired, and Pam was gone within a month. You know, I can't say that I've actually seen anyone do this maliciously in my career, but I have seen people who have changed admin passwords not knowing that they were associated to so many scripts and services and whatnot on computers, and their whole company, email servers, SQL servers, backups, all just stopped working because they changed a simple password and didn't understand the ramifications of doing so. That was Tales from Tech Support. And if you like this content, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to smash that like button too, as it also helps the channel out.